trưa quảng sáng muôn màu của những tình thơ.
Chúc mừng năm mới! Happy Lunar New Year, everybody! Welcome to the No Flimflam Film Fan channel. Today we are discussing the biggest, most widely distributed Vietnamese variety show in the world and why you can't buy it legally in Vietnam. Did you hear that right? Yeah. The biggest, longest running Vietnamese entertainment program can't be purchased in Vietnam. Why would they ban it? Got any ideas? Let's dig into the story and find out. Music, comedy, and a consistent cultural callback to the halcyon days of yore form the core of the stage production that is Paris by Night. But why would a Vietnamese language program focused on Vietnamese culture call itself Paris by Night? Well, when a Vietnamese immigrant to France named Tho Van Lai founded the program in 1983, the first production occurred in Paris at night. Lai was hoping to develop a dynamic display for the diaspora that would help keep the connection to the culture of the homeland. At that time, Vietnam as a nation was only just beginning to heal from years of internal violence and international meddling, and one of the country's deepest scars resulted from the forced scattering of people from South Vietnam into so many little Saigon communities around the world. Those communities longed for a home they couldn't return to. Not yet, anyway. We'll get to that later. Lai's vision took off, and by the late 1980s, so did his show, moving from France to Southern California, a region featuring both one of the largest Vietnamese expatriate communities in the world and Primo's Donuts! Family owned and serving the best sweet fried dough in Los Angeles since 1956. Now available in the Westfield Topanga Shopping Mall as well as the original Sawtell location. Also, Hollywood, I guess. But I don't know why a film crew would be interested in that. Gotta have good catering first. With access to a growing, supportive community and the Hollywood film scene, Paris by Night quickly outpaced the production cost and quality that could be created in Vietnam at the time. Episodes feature a mix of fashion, sketch comedy for immigrant aunties and uncles,
Này, quyết thì bà chỉ phập một phát thôi là lòi đến tận hộp nha các con nha.
and a lot of music, particularly bolero, a style derived from Cuban music of the 19th century, but fully developed into its own thing in Vietnam, and popularized in South Vietnam in the decades leading up to the fall of Saigon.
Như nước trôi qua cầu.
Tháng năm dài vui buồn tuổi trông thêm.
I hope you like bolero because, whoo, boy, these shows go on and on. They make Bollywood look like a Snapchat. I mean, it's no wonder that Vietnamese people love their strong coffee. You're going to need at least 3, maybe 4 intermissions to get through one episode. We're talking 6-7 hours sometimes. Generally, each show features similar casting of singers and performers, with directors changing sometimes based on location. Although based in Southern California, episodes have been taped in various U.S. states, Canada, France, Singapore, South Korea, and Thailand. The programs are recorded live before an audience and later released for sale, originally on VHS, then DVD, and now online streaming. To date, there are 136 episodes produced and sold since 1983, with number 137 on the way soon. The Paris by Night tapes became standard in Vietnamese households and restaurants around the world, creating an inescapable background hum of old-world pageantry. Eventually, they even made their way back to Vietnam despite no availability on the open market. How did people find the tapes if they can't buy them legally?
Hey, you cool? You alone? Alright. I got what you need right here. Yeah. How's that suit you, huh? Huh? You like that?
The illegal market for Paris by Night DVDs in the 2010s actually led to widespread speculation that the show would end because it wasn't making money anymore. But they've transitioned to streaming and continue to make those musical marathons to this day. That bootleg banter brings us to the big question. Why is this hit Vietnamese variety show not available legally in Vietnam? Here's your answer. If you visit any of the little Saigon communities around the world, you're likely to see this flag. What does it represent, and what does it have to do with banning a variety show? Well, this was the flag of Vietnam before the war, and if you ask some people, it's still the only flag they will honor. Paris by Night was founded by and for people forced to leave Vietnam when the communist government took over. It's natural that some of the cast, and certainly many in the target audience, would harbor resentment against the Vietnamese government.
The anti-communist demonstrators chant patriotic slogans as they wave American and South Vietnamese flags. Police wear riot gear as they face off with a potentially explosive crowd of nearly 500 protesters. Demonstrators want to make sure shop owner Trong Van Tran doesn't rehang a communist flag and a picture of Ho Chi Minh in Little Saigon.
And although, at least as far as I can tell, the show does not dive into political discussion or overt critiques of the current government, it's possible that some people involved may have expressed critiques outside the show. Also, Paris by Night tends to dwell on the alleged glory days prior to the current government. That was enough for the government to find it objectionable. The Paris by Night showrunners have unwittingly at times wandered into the conflict of adapting a nostalgia-infused program to stay relevant in changing times. When your core audience is built on idealizing a lost past, attempts to modernize or make peace with the new world can be viewed by some as treasonous. Vietnam has changed drastically since 1983. Where once were war zones, now are tourist destinations. For the generations born overseas after the war, the animosity toward the government has faded. Some are finding Vietnam to be safer and more full of opportunity than the foreign cities where their parents and grandparents once took refuge. It's not unheard of, even, for former refugees to return to Vietnam in their retirement. So, in light of all these changes, could Paris by Night do an episode in Vietnam in the near future? Well, attempts to make amends and potentially open up a dialogue about that possibility have led to some of the core fans of the show accusing the showrunners of collaborating with the very government that won't let them work in Vietnam. You can't win. You just can't win with some people. Nostalgia. It's a poison. Personally, I'm not old enough for this show, and YouTube demographic show most of my audience probably isn't either. But I encourage you to put on an episode while you're doing household chores and live out the Vietnamese overseas experience just a little bit. You can find them easily on YouTube. There's plenty to go through. And if you'd like to know some other options for Vietnamese entertainment, some modern, some classical, or maybe a Vietnamese recipe, check out this playlist over here.
Ta